Kaboom! What a difference a week makes, and the Dow has its biggest week up for the year. This is Meerkat in for Vacationing D7 with the Broad Market Weekend Edition, good through April 30th, 2017. Wow, what a difference a week makes. What I failed to do last weekend, when I also covered for D7 on the weekend review, was about the French primary election for president. And sure enough, it did turn out. And the markets kaboomed on Monday and Tuesday, and then they kind of petered out for the rest of the week. Let's take a look here at the daily charts, then we'll move on to the weekly charts, and then to the monthlies now that we are at the end of the month. Here we are on the S&P 500 daily, and look at that, on Monday, kaboom, baby, and then at Tuesday, us began, and then just went sideways for the next 3 days. And in fact, we have a little bit of an engulfing, bearish engulfing candle there, if we take a look closely, but I'm not that worried about that one right now. After the first 2 days focusing on France and its primary presidential election, and it looks like they will not be exiting the European Union. Then they got over that, and everybody started looking at the wave of earnings we had come through, and they were a bit mixed. We had two tech giants, Amazon and Google, Alphabet, just explode on their earnings, yet Microsoft and Intel both missed and got crushed. So there are some mixed out there, and we have an even bigger wave of stocks coming here next week. So again, if you're holding anything, make sure you know when your earnings date are. Trading over earnings is not recommended because it is an unknown event outcome. All right, so we're going to go into the S&P here. Let's go to the Dow here on the daily, and it popped up. It's going sideways for 3 days, but not quite to its all-time high. And then we have the Nasdaq here. Boom, 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 all new all-time highs. We got to move this up here on the daily chart, closing right there. That's the all-time highs. It broke the 6,000 here on Monday. It came close, and then on Tuesday it opened up above 6,000 and never looked back. Boom, 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 boom. Again, good reports on some of the large tech have propelled it higher to all-time highs above 6,000. And now we have the small cap Russell here. It also went exploding up here to new all-time highs on the daily chart. Let's go ahead and set that there. New all-time close on that, and then really pulled back hard on Friday right to the 1400 even amount, which it had struggled to get above here way back in March, and then now it's right back up those levels again. Did set new highs, but then right back to the 1400. Take a look here at Bank on the daily. It sprung back, but then went sideways, and on Friday actually dove down back below the moving averages of the 50. It was holding above that 50 moving average there, now back here near the 20. Now the VIX, remember last week it peaked up here and was just coming up here. This is again the fear indicator. The higher it is, the more fear there is in the market. And then kabam on Monday, it just completely evaporated. Now we're down here in the 10 range. We're below 11, which, look at this, when we were so complacent here for the last 6 months or more, and it started to spike, but now we're right back in that very complacent area. All right, that's the daily charts. Let's go to the weekly charts. This is the S&P 500 weekly chart here, and it came right back up to these all-time high close for the weekly candle. Again, it was pulling back here. We could have drawn in a bit of a bull flag here as well, and boom, it broke out big. And then we've got the Dow Jones Industrials here. They came back up again. They pierced the all-time high close for the weekly candles, but then it pulled back here just underneath it at the end of the day. So we have now the Nasdaq, kaboom, boom, boom. That's all new all-time highs here. Look at how many times during the week it kept hitting that level, and now it has finally broken out above 6,000, and there's our new highs there all-time on the weekly chart. Then we've got the Russell here, which was in a bit of a bull flag itself on the weekly candles here, and then boom, it broke out, and look at that, went up here to all new time highs, and then pulled right back to that 1400 level. Look at that, which is where it was the all-time high close was on the weekly chart before. Bank, again, it's starting to turn around, but then pull back a bit here. And the VIX, again, on the weekly side, we are up here, and kabam, just all the fear just dried right up out of the markets. All right, that's the weekly. Let's take a look at the sectors on the weekly sector chart. We go to finviz.com. That's finviz.com. Under the groups, it does give you, here's the one-day performance, but we're interested here in the weekly performance. And look at that. We have conglomerates, healthcare, and technology. Look at that for the week. Boom! Just boom, baby. That is a big for 1 week's worth of performance. We'll come back to that in a few minutes here. So let's take a look at the monthly charts now. Here's the S&P 500 monthly. It was high pacing here, for almost all of 2015 and most of 16, and then we took off from the election. Now it's kind of basing up here. We have actually had 5 out of the last 6 months have been up. Last month it was down just a fraction, and then now it's back up here to another new high. So now we got the monthly chart here closing at a new high. We need to move that up. On the Dow, again, it too, 5 out of the last 6 months. Last month being the month that it did not close higher. It now closed higher here. Another new all-time high on the monthly charts close. And then you have the Nasdaq, of course. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that. 6 months in a row. There's no stopping the Nasdaq. It is just taking off like a rocket here. New all-time highs. And then we've got the Russell here. It's just drifting up, drifting up, drifting up, up. Hey, new all-time high close for the monthly. Wow. All right. So it is, just look at this. Look at that, right along this line of support and resistance. It's just crawling up here. No big breakouts on the monthly. Again, it is now the end of the month, so that is a completely closed candle. And on the bank for the monthly, it went up here, all-time highs, pulled back last month hard, and we still, look at that, it is now a lower close than last month. So banks are a little bit more bearish than what they are for the broad markets. And then we have the VIX here again, just slammed down here, very, very low for the month. Well, let's take a look here at the monthly sectors. Back to finviz.com. Let's take a look at the 1 month performance, which sectors are outperforming. We've got, again, commodities up for the month, up 4.4%. Services, 2.9%. Industrial goods, and then technology. But the worst performer were basic materials. That was actually negative for the last month. And utilities, almost break even. Back here at the S&P 500 daily, we were in a bull flag. Boom, we're up here tagging on the all-time highs here. We are in the midst of earnings season, so pay attention to earnings, especially on the S&P. We have had 6 quarters in a row of negative earnings on the S&P. Will this be quarter number 7? Remember, it's about growth, folks. It's all about growth. This is Mark the Meerkat. Have a great trading week and trade well.